Audi have certainly got some very good cars out at the moment. They're very nicely put together, very attractive vehicles. If anything, there's a danger of them looking a little bit too similar. Now we're at the smaller end of the Audi market, a nippy little hatchback. Let's start with the interior of the car. The interior of the car is actually very attractive. It's quite stylish. It's been well thought out. The dash is very clear, very simple. You're not overwhelmed with buttons and lights to distract you, which I've come to find with certain vehicles, particularly the Ford Mondeo. When you drive that at night time, there's too many lights on the dash. The instrument dials, the speedo and the rev counter is very visible. It is not obstructed in any way by the steering wheel along the top here. Visibility of the car is fantastic. The rear view mirror, there is no obstacles to restrict you from looking through the mirror at all. The side mirrors are at the perfect height and they offer more than adequate vision of the side of the vehicle. The interior of this car has a well-built quality. It doesn't feel cheap at all. It's quite ironic actually that the interior of this car, for example the steering wheel, actually feels better quality than that of a 2006 Aston Martin with its cheap plastic hideous steering wheel. This car has been put together well. It's not made of junk. It hasn't got a cheesy, tacky, recycled plastic feel to it. It's a very, very nicely made car. It's a quality vehicle. Now, as we're driving down the motorway now, I'm doing 60 miles an hour. I am aware of a lot of noise, air noise. Oddly enough, it seems to be coming from the rear of the vehicle. It almost sounds like the boot of the car is open, but by quickly inspecting the dashboard I can see that it's not. There seems to be a bit of a wind trap at the rear of the vehicle, which is rather unusual. I'm very aware of the noise underneath the car as I'm driving along, particularly around the area of the transmission tunnel. This is a manual gearbox. The gear change is very light and uncomplicated. I can't say it feels particularly certain changing gears, but it's certainly a very swift transition from gear to gear. With a smaller engine vehicle, I quite often accept the fact that I'm going to get like a jittery driving experience from the car, and this is by no means any exceptions. But I would have to say that the actual ride quality of this vehicle is very, very smooth, and it's something that I would associate more with a larger vehicle, like a big saloon Audi. The steering is very responsive. The shocks are very responsive too. They are not hard, but they are not floppy, and there is no boating with this car. Being a short wheelbase vehicle, the steering is naturally very responsive, but this car is very, very, very suited for driving around a town, small villages, etc., etc. It's unbelievably nimble. can imagine driving one of these with a faster engine and actually being rather good at nipping in and out of overtaking vehicles. We've got 5 gears on this model. I do feel that a 6th gear would be beneficial. I'm doing 60 miles an hour now, and I could quite comfortably go into a 6th gear. So, as there's so many cars with 6 gears now, it's obviously a good idea in many respects, and I think the lack of one in this vehicle is noticeable. I don't know whether it picked it up on the camera then, but we were coming along a bit of a ripple on the road, and the noise was excessive. The handbrake is very large and very firm. I think to smaller people and maybe women, that handbrake may actually be a bit too chunky. For a small vehicle, this actually pulls very strongly. It's got a powerful engine. It's actually a pleasure to drive. I'm very impressed with this vehicle. I'm impressed with its handling. I'm very impressed with its styling, and it has been put together very well indeed. It's a very well made car. It is obviously a front wheel drive. On a dry day like today it's ideal, but I think nipping around a town on a wet day, I think you'd find your front wheels slipping around a bit, which is generally the way with front wheel drive, especially a smaller car. But out of all the small hatches that I do get to drive when I'm picking up new vehicles to sell, this has to be the better of the lot. It's just quality. It just oozes quality. There's nothing about this vehicle that feels crappy at all. It's really quite a good vehicle, and I think if you're thinking of buying one of these, I think you'd be making a very good decision indeed.